So we now go to the first official race for OK and OK Junior for BNL Karting Series 2019. And your grid is as follows. It's Eva Mallet with Riz Viveret alongside on the front row. Then it's a clean sweep for the French on row number 2 with Frank Chappard and Thomas Simbourg. Then Lars van Vark and Loris Cabirou round out the top 6 ahead of Mads Ries, who's a glutton for punishment this weekend, taking up position number 7 ahead of Nicolas Picot, also from France, with Juliano Holzem from Germany and Corby Pauls, who I spoke with earlier on today in the treble 2, rounding out the top 10. Then it's Finland's Matthias Salonen and Olivier Goethe rounding out row number 6. Alexander Tauscher, Tom Uzan, Jan-Peter Fritters, Enzo Peugeot, Daniel Greger, Jules Castro, Lois Delbart, Sandro Hossel and Maxime Fauron-Castellin round out the 21 strong, with Enzo Peugeot being the pole position setter in OK Junior. This is the first time that we've had OK and OK Junior join the ranks, apart from the kickoff 4 weeks ago. But this is going to give us all a really good flavour of what to expect in terms of this particular category. Different tyres, so they use the Vega Apex Racing tyres, different configuration, so to speak, from the Rotax contingent that makes up the majority of the racing categories we have at the BNL. But with qualifying just giving me a taster of what to expect, I'm really looking forward to seeing what these drivers bring in terms of a new dynamic and a new era of the BNL karting series here in its 11th season of competition. So it's Mallet from Viveret on the front row. Red lights on the starting gantry. Again, 11 minutes plus an additional lap. So top 10, it's Mallet from Viveret, Chappard, Imbourg, Van Vark, Cabirou, Ries, Picot, Holzem and Pauls. That's your top 10. Pole sitter is Enzo Peugeot for OK Junior. Do we go lights out? Yes, we do. And they scream away heading down into turn 1 for the first time. And it's it's 3 abreast. Oh no, we've had a clash. We have had a clash. And somebody is pointing 180 degrees the wrong way and gets straight out of that kart. That is the 201 of Lars van Vark from TB Racing. That's a real shame for the Dutch driver. New colours for this season. So Lars van Vark, an early casualty, not even making it halfway round the first lap. So that brings us down to one driver not taking any further part. I'm wondering who else was involved. According to my timing screens, it could be Loris Cabirou from France in the 257. Meanwhile, 233 is making some moves. I believe that's Nicolas Picot. So making some moves is the French driver, now up into 4th place. Well, that's a very, very accomplished driver is Nicolas. Has competed in Rotax and now switched to OK for this season, and is showing a really good turn of pace. And it is a French clean sweep at the top 4 with Mallet leaving from Chappard, Imbourg and Picot. That's your top 4 at the moment. Riz Viveret, who started on the front row, is now in 5th ahead of Juliano Holzem. Sorry, trying to get my names out right there. Alexander Tauscher from Germany rounding out the top 7 ahead of Olivier Goethe, with Enzo Peugeot now up into 9th overall but still leading the OK Junior category. His nearest competitor is Daniel Greger in 11th overall in the 175, running with Junior Team 75 from Timo Bernhard's stable this weekend, as the 222 of Corby Pauls goes up the inside, I think, of Tom Uzan from France and cleanly takes away that position. This driver is definitely, he might be a bit taller from what I last remember him, but he's still as accomplished. He knows this track very, very well. And if I know someone that's going to be resurgent, it's definitely going to be Corby Pauls. So, at the minute, it's Mallet from Chappard, Picot up into 3rd, Imbourg down into 4th, Viveret, Tauscher, Goethe, Holzem, Fritters and Salonen rounding out the top 10. Pauls, in the meantime, now up into 14th, having got past the 215 of Tom Uzan there. Meanwhile, there's another driver that's been making, well, it's Mads Ries has parked it. Loris Cabirou was also involved. So those were the 3 that were involved in that. So it's curtailed all 3 of them quite early. Maxime Fauron-Castellin is trying to claw the gap back to Lois Delbart from Belgium in the 112. The gap between the pair is now nearly half a second as the leaders come through into turn number 3. So it's the 2 teammates at the front of the field, Mallet and Chappard, that are leading the field at the minute. Pico in third, Imborg in fourth, Vivaret in fifth. That's your top five at the moment. Enzo Peugeot is in 13th position and is about just over 1.5 tenths of a second last time around, ahead of Tom Uzan from France in the 2:15. As Jules Castro definitely getting stuck in there at turn number 7. So that's a battle with, looks like Daniel Greger, Maxime Fourcon-Castellan, and also Jules Castro. So at the front of the field, still, it's the, just keeping an eye on this, still the same top 4 French drivers in the top 4 with no change in the order at the minute, all separated by 0.7 of a second, but closing on them is Ries Vivaret from Belgium in the 2:35. And the gaps aren't extending, which is going to give us some close quarter action over the next 7 minutes, plus an additional lap. So Castro got past Daniel Greger and Maxime Fourcon-Castellan on that last tour. So the 106 from GKS Lemons Power is doing a good job. He showed, I think it was Gert-Jan Aris from Flandria, UK, that he competed against, and Gert is in the other class. And it was good to see those two battle at the kickoff, but now we're going to see should compete in this, and it's not that far between the top 3 in terms of OK Junior. Peugeot has a lead of over 8 tenths of a second to Delbart from Belgium, with Castro a further nearly 1.3 seconds behind. And as you can see at the front of the field, the top 5 can't really beat. Well, Chapard just went up the inside of Mallet quite cleanly up the inside of turn 6. They had the really good run coming out of turn number 5. So Frank Chapard hits the front of the field ahead of Evan Mallet. Nicolas Pico in, well, has there been any changes in the mid part of that? Pico still in third. And then you've also got Imborg and Vivaret rounding out the top 5. But nice clean work there by Frank Chapard from France, who did a great, that was a brilliant steal. That was clean as they come. So, in terms of OK Junior, gap between Enzo Peugeot and Louis Delbart now down to 7 tenths of a second. Corby Pauls has got about 6.5 tenths between himself and Jan-Peter Freitas in two. Oh, a little bit of a clash there. That was between Vivaret and Pico, I believe. So that did not work out as Pico just goes up the inside. Was that Mallet that he's just gone past? Yes, it is. So Nicolas Pico now into second position, past Evan Mallet. So Chapard now pulling away from Pico, Mallet, Imborg and Vivaret. So that's going to be, and Vivaret's coming under fire now from Tauscher and Goethe. So that's going to be a really interesting scrap for what is 5th position. So this has allowed Frank Chapard from France to cleanly pull away and tells everyone to eat his dust, so to speak, or the rubber from the rear tyres on the back of that OK kart. The gap now is 1.4 seconds between Chapard and Pico as a result of that slight altercation between Pico and Vivaret on that last tour. We have 4.5 minutes to go. And the gaps between Castro, Greger and Fourcon-Castellan for what is effectively 3rd, 4th and 5th position in OK Junior has now concertinaed to about just over 4 tenths of a second there. Meanwhile, the battle for second place is still quite very much heated between Pico, Mallet, Vivaret, who's now up into 4th place, having got past Thomas Imborg. So one Belgian driver puts one asunder along into the top 4 French drivers, who are basically providing France with a clean sweep at the top of OK in this first race of 2 today. 3 minutes and 43 seconds on the clock remaining, plus 1 additional lap. And Chapard, I think, has started to check out a little bit. Has gone to the tune of 1.679 seconds over Nicolas Pico. Evan Mallet still in 3rd. Ries Vivaret 4th. Thomas Imborg 5th. Alexander Tauscher, Olivier Goethe, Giuliano Holsum, Matthias Salonen and Corby Pauls now complete the top 10. So Corby's now trying to come back. There is a gap between Corby and Matthias of around about, well, close to about 6.5 tenths now. the gap has now decreased as Maxime Fourant-Castellin gets past the junior Team 75 driver of Daniel Greger from Germany. That's fourth in OK Junior from the 11-year-old from Luxembourg. No real changes in the top 7 as I speak at this minute, as we have 2 minutes and 49 seconds to go, plus 1 additional lap. So Pico just keeping ahead of Evan Mallet there. That's second, third. Fourth is still Rhys Viveret from Belgium. Imborg from France rounds out the top 5, so 2 different nationalities in the top 5, but then when you look a little bit further down the order, you've got 2 Belgians, 4 French drivers, 2 Germans, 1 Monegasque, and a Finn. That's ever a mixture if ever I heard one. Maybe you'll find that in Formula 1. Not to that extent with regards to the French ranks. We've got... Oh, hang on. Is that me? I've just seen Maxime Fourant-Castellin. Has he clashed with Jules Castro? That is... Yellow flags being waved into turn 6. So Maxime Fourant-Castellin and Jules Castro looks like they've come to blows again. Oh, 224 is off. 224. That's Jan-Peter Freitas. He's now off, and that drops him out of this race. So we're going to have 6 retirements so far. So that's Cabirou from France, Mads Ries, Lars van Vark eliminated on lap 1. Fourant-Castellin and Jules Castro just eliminated just then, with around about a minute and 45 to go on the clock, with Jan-Peter Freitas probably having a mechanical issue of some kind, which leaves us with 15 competitors. And the battles in OK Junior are not going to be ones that are really going to be concentrating on, because Enzo Peugeot is still leading that, ahead of Delbar and Greger, who are the 3 remaining drivers in OK Junior in this race. Meanwhile, it is the battle for second that is really going to heat up as we go into the last 60 seconds, plus 1 additional lap. Pico still leads ahead of Mallet, Vivret and Imborg. This is going to be an intense battle royale for the next, I would say, probably about a minute and 45. With both Fourant-Castellin and Castro away from the scene of the accident. 1 kart on either side of the track at the midpoint of the back straight between turn 6 and 7, as Mallet is sizing up Nicolas Pico for second position. We're going into the dying few seconds of this race. 30 on the clock to go, so it'll be about 23, 24 seconds by the time that Chappard crosses the line. 24 seconds it is. So be this an additional lap. Mallet is looking menacing behind Pico and sends it up the inside on his countryman. And Pico tries to fight back on the switchback through turn 3. Mallet shuts the door firmly and says, "No, you don't, my friend." But Pico's going to try and claw back. Gets a bit late breaky there going into turn number 6. But this is all the while just allowing Frank Chappard from France to cleanly show a clean pair of heels to the rest of the opposition, mainly which is the 4 behind. So Chappard leads from Mallet, Pico. Imborg now gets past Vivret for 4th position. So when Frank Chappard crosses the start-finish line, it's going to be final lap. So 1 more lap to go for Frank Chappard. So just under 1,250 meters as he goes through turn number 2 into turn 3. As Pico now being swallowed up. And is Imborg trying to mount a charge? No, couldn't quite make that happen, which allows Vivret to close on the back bumper going into turn 5. It's not going to be enough for the Belgian to get close on turn number 6. But with a 2.5 second advantage, Chappard does not need to worry whatsoever. Mallet, in the meantime, will still keep that second position. But it is the 3 behind that I'm really interested in, because Pico and Imborg are the 2 that are really battling hard, as will be Vivret. As I say that, Frank Chappard comes round the final corner. The checkered flag will wave for the Frenchman, who wins the first ever OK Junior in the 2019 BNL Karting Series calendar from a season perspective, ahead of countrymen's Evan Mallet, Nicolas Pico, and Thomas Imborg, with Rhys Viveret rounding out the top 5. Unfortunately, we had 6 retirements in this race, with Lars van Vark, Mads Ries, and Loris Cabirou eliminated on the very first lap as the trio came together. Unfortunately, Jan-Peter Freitas had looks to have a mechanical issue that enforced him to park it on lap number 9, with both Jules Castro and Maxime Fouan-Castellan looking to have come to blows either accidentally or otherwise. I'm not too sure. I'm not going to be the judge of that one for the second time this weekend. So Frank Chapard wins ahead of Evan Mellet, Nicolas Pico, Thomas Hamburg, Ries Viveret, with Andreas Tauscher, Olivier Goethe and Kobe Pauls rounding out the top 8. Juliano Holzem and Matthias Salonen rounded out the top 10, with Sandro Holzem being the last of the classified OK senior finishers in 11th position. Enzo Peugeot converted pole position in the OK Junior Class 2, a first victory of the year, ahead of Team 75's Daniel Greger, with Lois Delbart ending up in 14th position, with, it looks like Tomazan was also the 5th